Let us know when we're ready. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the January 30, 2024 meeting of the Lehigh Northampton Airport Authority Board of Governors. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask everyone to please rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sylvia, could you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Paul Anthony. Ann Baum. Robert Brooks. Frank Fasciano.
Here.
Don Gottschall. Here. Justin Grimshaw. John Hayes.
Here.
Ron Heckman.
Here.
Larry Hamburger. James Irwin. Jeff Maskin. Glenn Reedman.
Present.
Mike Stershik.
Here.
John Strauss.
Here.
Chris Worley. We have a
I saw
quorum.
Chris, I saw Justin, and I saw Ann online. Let's just double check.
They all have their.
You're all muted.
They're all muted.
Okay.
Audio up on our side. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
they
so
have.
so you have a quorum.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the November 28, 2023 meeting. Those minutes were posted via Novus Agenda. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Frank, second by Ron. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, reports of committees, officers, and staff. In Justin's being online today, he asked me to take care of the treasurer's report. So we'll go to the treasurer's report, and I'll turn it immediately over to Todd to go over the November and preliminary year-end financial information.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone that wasn't here last week. They got my Happy New Year. And I did want to give a special shout out to Tim from 69 News. I met him last week. He said he always watches our board meetings. So, you know.
Okay, we got one.
We got one. So, hey, Tim, how you doing out there?
And in all honesty, anyone, if you let people know these meetings are out there, because the video quality is very good. I watch them from my perspective just to make sure that I caught everything. So definitely, it's good work.
So we're going to talk about December. Obviously, November is old news, but we did have a good month of November, and you'll see that we did have a net profit without CARES and without miscellaneous income for November. But at this point, we're talking about where we ended the year preliminarily. And the reason we say preliminarily is because this is the end of the year, so we have some year-end adjustments that kind of go into play again. So you can see December's traffic there was the best since 2003. We had 79,000 and change. It took us up to 931, almost 931,000 passengers, surpassing last year's number, and last year's number was a little bit better than 2019. You can see it's again led by Allegiant, up pretty nicely from last year. Over half of our traffic, you can see that number 505 out of that 931 is from Allegiant.
And the bus traffic continued to grow dramatically.
Yes. Yep. You can see here, you must have known that segue was coming there. We talk about breaking down the difference between aircraft and bus service. You can see there's a little bit of a lag on some of these numbers. That's why there's an asterisk there. But you can kind of see where we were versus 2019 all the way to your far left there, that we're up for these 3 months about 5.2% higher than we were for the last 3 months of, what should I say, for the whole year. But you can see we're up significantly from where we were in 2019. You can see that on almost in every month. And again, you can see down at the bottom there what's going on with our bus traffic. American, obviously, service coming inside the checkpoint is obviously a good thing, and that's leading to some good numbers there.
Is there any progress toward United coming in behind the security line?
At this
Talking
point, we
about it
haven't
at all?
heard anything. We continue to work through this trial period with American, but you know, we'll know more as that period concludes.
Okay. I seem to have run into a lot of people that take the American bus down to Philly, and they love it.
Yeah,
The
we've
comments I've gotten are very positive.
A lot of positive comments, yeah.
And I'm surprised by the number of people that I know, because it's just luck of the draw.
Sure.
But very positive comments in that regard.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
any problems with the bus with people coming back from Philly or coming back from Newark? Say their plane is late getting into Newark or Philly and the bus has already left. Do we have any of that?
Nothing that I've heard. I don't know, Steve, if you've heard of any issues or concerns.
I'm not aware. I don't know if the air carrier makes a special arrangement to get an additional lift up here with alternate transportation.
Okay,
Typically, it could end up being like a canceled flight anywhere else.
right, okay. Okay.
So we always compare ourselves to all airports. Again, we had a good report last week from our consultant, and he talked about how ABE is performing compared to other regional airports. But again, that's secondary recovery. The major airports have recovered faster than some of the regional airports, and hopefully our recovery will pick up this year. But you can see where we are seats-wise compared to all airports. Again, we use the seats that we get. Throughput down considerably less than seats. And we talk about all of our peers and just kind of seeing what's going on there. Again, talking about that secondary recovery and where we are in that. And this is kind of where we ended up for the year there. Then we look at our December numbers there. And this is, again, these are preliminary numbers. We have to finalize some of these things. And just so you know, December takes a little bit longer because there's a lot of year-end stuff that only happens at the end of the year. So it takes a little longer. But we're probably about 90% there that you can get a feel for where we are. See that number there, net income of $726,000 there versus our actual 272. On the surface, that doesn't look that good, but we had about $1 million of CARES, so it's about a $700,000 swing of CARES that we did not use that was budgeted. So if you take that out, we had a much better month than we had budgeted there. Again, talking about where we were for the year. And these numbers, and I talked about this last week, were very similar when you look at 22 and 23 to where we were in 18 and 19. Almost, net from a net income perspective, the numbers are very similar. Now, obviously, one of the big changes is that depreciation, and we spent a lot of money on infrastructure. I think we were slightly below $5 million in 2019. You can see we're at 6.6, and the number there this year is closer to 7 because you'll have a full year depreciation on the connector. But that continued investment in infrastructure, and we're still able to kind of make the same net income is a good thing. Then, fortunately, our streak did break in December, 11 out of 11. We were through November, but December, tough month. Some of that we talked about as a result of our additional airline settlement that we had to make in December because we were having such a good year. Hey, Ann, how are you? Coming in here, all the good news. There we go. Ann's here.
Perfect time.
There you go. And then our cash on hand. That line there is a 60-day cash on hand after reserves. That black line there, we never want to go below there. My number is probably closer to 150. So we're not there. So we're looking pretty good as far as cash for the rest of this year at this point. And at this point, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions.
Questions for Todd? Your number is 150 and we're drawing the line at 60. Why don't we move the line up to 100?
That's something we can talk about.
Yeah.
Moving it up. But again,
No,
if you think about
it's a
it.
good early morning indicator, so.
Yeah, because again, when you get below 60 days, it's really 2 months.
Yeah, no, I
It's
understand.
scary.
Yeah, I understand.
So,
Let's move it to 100.
we should
Or
talk
90,
about
or 90 days.
maybe 90. Let's move it to 90, so it's 3 days. 3 months, not 3 days. 3 days kind of brings back memories there. But, all right, no questions?
Just one other question, Todd. Can you walk through timeframes for everyone for financial review, the audit, final numbers, et cetera, what you expect?
We should be done. Our final numbers are usually done sometime in March, late March. I think they're coming out, I want to say end of March or early April to kind of do their final work. We're usually pretty much ready to go in May for our, to kind of have that reviewed. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. But we're pretty much on the same schedule we were last year. Okay. No challenges that we see. I mean, there's some additional, announcements that we're kind of dealing with. There's some additional GASB announcements, government accounting standards that we have to adhere to. But overall, I think we're on track. So, and again, we had, like I said, if you go back to where we were for our budget, we did much better than what we have for budget. If we go back and look here, I think it's always important. I'm going to do power here. Just kind of looking back here, you know, we were at net income of $2.1 million. We were preliminarily at $6 million. You know, and again, we didn't take nearly as much care, so that's a good thing for us overall. As we talk about some of these additional infrastructure, we're going to have enough income to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that we're kind of maintaining where we were 18 and 19, even with the additional infrastructure, is a really positive sign for us. Again, I think we're working together to kind of figure out what makes the most sense. So it's good where we are. So we should feel good about where we are at this point.
And the last question I've got is ordinarily you would include information on headcount, open positions.
We usually do that in our committee meetings. We did do that in our last committee meetings.
Yep.
I think, again, we came in a little bit lower than we had budgeted because, you know, I never want us to be at the point where we're fully staffed because then we have no wiggle room at all. And these things happen quickly. I mean, for us, you know, and I talked about it on last week, you know, the wintertime creates turnover for us because nobody wants to be out on the tarmac. Nobody wants to be out. It's cold out there. So we have turnover there. That's kind of something we anticipate. But overall, you know, I think we're in a good place as far as staffing. And we have opportunities for growth still. So we're not landlocked, for lack of another word, on where we can't hire any more employees, so which is always a good thing. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Todd? Anybody online, questions for Todd? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the finance report. Motion by Mike, second by John. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Todd, thank you. Okay, and I don't believe we have anything else for the treasurer's report. So Tom, you're up.
Okay.
Director's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, great wrap-up for the year, 930,000 passengers, as Todd reviewed. Taking a look now as we look into next year, so as we're looking into 2024, national throughput through our checkpoints across the country is up about 6.5%. For January month to date, we're up about 10%. So we're trending a little bit higher than that national average. When we look into the February timeframe, we're seeing that our seats, our scheduled seats right now are up about 3% over last February. So again, a little bit of growth from last year, last February. When we take a look a little bit further at what happened since our last board meeting, our last scheduled board meeting was back in November. So going all the way back there, we'll go back to December a little bit. December 13th, our staff packed 1,080 boxes for the senior food program at Second Harvest Food Bank. So they set another record. So congrats to our staff. They keep setting records over there with the number of boxes packed, and they're doing a great job, and they love helping out. So we thank.
Hold on a plug. Your demand was up 45% in 2023. There was a real need. So helping to fill that need is
Great.
crucial support.
It's great, and we thank Dawn for helping us get involved in that program. So it's really been wonderful. On January 12th, ABE hosted Air Force One during the President's visit to the Lehigh Valley. So always happy to see Air Force One here.
Tell them to bring the big plane at some point.
More logistics, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. January 22nd, we were notified by the Department of Transportation of a $40 million infra grant award for air cargo development here. So we were very thrilled to be a recipient of that grant.
Kudos to the staff, because as we get into that project and y'all see what these things cost, that's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in a project like that.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes, so kudos to the staff. January 24th, our staff presented at the Airports Council International Air Service Data Seminar in Austin, Texas. So down there talking a little bit about cargo, coincidentally. January 24th, we attended and sponsored the Lehigh Valley Economic Outlook at Steel Stacks. Great event, Frank, as always, Dr. Bryson, and wonderful. January 26th, we held a luncheon for our PROPS awards recipients. PROPS is Positive Rewards for Outstanding Performance or Service. And a lot of these nominations for airport employees, not just authority employees, but our airline reps and others. come from the public. So users of the facilities that actually take the time to submit, a special recognition for an employee that helped them. Over 60 nominations, almost 40 awards handed out that day. So it was really, really a great recognition of the team overall here at the airport. And last but not least, just yesterday or last evening, we were notified our digital signage program, that's part of the new TSA checkpoint and terminal connector, all provided by Synect, was essentially awarded second place in the International Digital Signage Awards in Barcelona, Spain. So not too bad
No,
for
not at all.
ABE. So we're really excited. What's that?
Nobody went to accept?
Yeah, I was going to go, Frank, but,
We don't fly there.
Yeah.
Legion hasn't set that route yet.
So we'll work on that. But so very excited to have that award for our project. And again, just continued kudos to the team for that. In terms of upcoming events, February 25th, AAA Lehigh Valley Vacation Expo will be over at Wind Creek, Bethlehem. Their Vacation Expo runs from 10 to 5 during the day, and it's free admission. Our team, we have a team from our authority. We have some folks from Allegiant and also from TSA are going to be presenting. So we'll have some folks over there talking a little bit about travel options here. So February 25th, if you're interested, you can head over to Bethlehem for that. On February 27th, working with the Bethlehem Area School District, we'll be at the Liberty High School Career Fair. So we'll have a setup there talking about career opportunities here. And March 6th is our next Fear of Flying seminar. I like to get those out early because there's only 10 seats. So those fill up pretty quick. You can sign up at flyabe.com if anyone's interested. And again, we'll have a number of these throughout the year, so we'll give you lots of notice when those are coming up. But that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions if
Thank
there are
you,
any.
Tom. Do we have any questions or comments for Tom?
Seemed like you had a slow month.
Quiet, very quiet. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Tom, thank you very much.
sure,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Okay, solicitors report. Attorney Marcon.
Thank you. So I had a slow month, so that's always good for you. Just a few items to report on the connector project, ongoing negotiations about closing finishing that all up and getting all payments completed. So I know that staff is working on that with Gracie and there's, addressing their concerns and our concerns. And so that's ongoing. And then also the liquor license was successfully transferred and is active. So that matter is closed out. And I don't have a stormwater update.
Any idea as to timeframe that court will decide? Completely
Yeah,
open.
I don't know if there's still COVID backlogs. That's really taken a long time to clear in most state courts. And so, I don't know how our Supreme Court is doing in that regard.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Liquor license.
Correct.
Okay.
So they have the briefs, and they have not scheduled an oral argument to move it kind of to their desk for decision, yeah.
So the airport now owns the liquor license? Is that?
No, the concessionaire does,
It was transferred from concessionaire to
It's a
concessionaire.
concessionaire.
yes.
Any other questions or comments for Attorney Marcon? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, do we have any new business before we go into executive session? Okay, hearing none, we are going into executive session to discuss performance evaluations for the executive director and the solicitor. We will not have any votes coming out of the executive session, and we don't plan on having any further comment or discussion after the executive session. So the question becomes, do we need to come back live in order to adjourn the meeting, or can we adjourn after we come out of executive session without the camera?
Oh, right. I think adjourn publicly.
Okay, so we'll have to call Colin back.
Can we adjourn now and just have executive session?
Or have a conference.
Or have, because we're not taking any motion, can we have just a conference at that point?
Right, so we could do as a conference, it is an enumerated exception to public meetings, so it does qualify as an executive session to discuss personnel matters. So I think it's however you'd like to handle it.
I'm trying not to drag people back to the room if we don't
Sure.
need to drag people back to the room, because we aren't going to be
Yeah,
discussing
we
anything.
don't know how long we're gonna be.
Right.
Right, and yeah, and the full announcement can happen before the executive session, doesn't have to happen afterwards.
Mhm.
So, I suppose you can make the motion to adjourn after the executive session. The announcement can come now for
Okay.
you already said what's gonna happen in executive session, you already said there won't be any votes.
And we won't be discussing anything else.
Right, and there won't be any deliberations or decision-making during that time.
Yep.
And so then I think you can say, and then kind of a contingent adjournment. So
Okay.
once you come out of exec session, we'll be adjourned because we're gonna handle that first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
Sounds good. Then I need a motion to go into executive session and contingent adjournment at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. Looks like Frank wants to make that animated. Frank is going to second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.